what are you finding in yourself in these dating? Let me ask you this: do you desire marriage?
If I died tomorrow and I wasn't a wife, it wouldn't bother me.
No, because you'd be dead.
Yeah.
So when people say stuff like that,
but let me tell you why.
of course they
Because
gonna bother you dead.
no, because there's some people that are like, if I don't get married, it's the biggest
None of
regret.
that matters once you die.
Guys, you don't have to watch this. You do not have to watch this. And I'm warning you because somebody's going to say, bro, this was so hard to get through. What other creator out here tells you you don't have to watch this? You don't have to put yourself through this. You've been warned. But if you do, I'm right there alongside with you. This video is titled At Kendra G Media Opens Up Like Never Before and Challenges Lateris R. Whitfield. I hope I pronounced that right. Dear future wifey. Of course, I think I've reacted to this podcast on more than once. I learned a lot. I learned a lot here about the actual host that I didn't know before, and also about Kendra G. All right, let's check it out.
No, but you got to hear me out, because I felt like becoming who I was born to be. So let me talk about people always say engagements don't count. And my engagement changed my life, and it helped me understand me, because I feel like most women we're sold the Cinderella story of marriage, right? So when I was young, I was sold the Cinderella story. Like, oh, you meet somebody, Prince Charming. So I did what we recommend girls do. I went to college. I went to Hampton University, got into a relationship. After college, we got engaged. And I remember, it's so funny. My mother, everybody was happy. My daddy said to me, he was like, you are not ready to be anybody's wife. My dad knew. He said, you are so ambitious that you're going to have to give up everything of who you really are to be this man's wife. And I remember being so mad at my dad, because I was like, I would think you would be happy, right? But he knew me. So one thing I loved about my engagement is that me and my ex-fiance, we took it serious. And we were like, if we get married, it's me and you until Jesus.
Yep.
Like, no matter what, if we do this, we end this. And having that pact in the beginning caused us both to really take this as a serious thing. What we learned was we had a real love for each other, but we had different life plans. And somebody was going to have to give up their life plan in order for the family to work. Now, at this time, I'm young. I'm in my 20s. I'm starting off in radio. I'm a graduate from Hampton University, but my first radio job, I made $7 an hour. And I'll never forget, I got a full-time job in Buffalo, New York, and they wanted me to sign a 3-year contract. I wouldn't sign the contract. So they said, okay, well, we're going to just let you go. It was December 20th. 5 days later, I didn't know, but my boyfriend then was planning to propose. And he proposed on Christmas Day.
Wow.
So I got fired, and then I got engaged on Christmas Day. So I didn't have a job, so I ended up moving with him. This is how my Chicago run began, because he was an electrical engineer living in Illinois. So I ended up moving to Illinois. So we had spent a year long distance while I was working in Buffalo. So the first 2 weeks was amazing, right? Because it's like, okay, we're here. It's like honeymoon time. After that 2 weeks, he's going to work every day. I have no financial issues. Like, he has a reliable career, probably still has that job with that company at a higher level now. I moved in with him, so it was no extra bills. All I had to do was just get married and pop out some babies. And I said, this is not my life. This is not what God birthed me to become.
It sounds like we're heading towards a setup here of a scene, right? Of a woman who, once again, chose her career over her marriage or her potential marriage, right? Let's make this interactive, guys. Of course, I'm curious to know you guys' thoughts as usual. But that's what this sounds like. Sounds like this is where we're headed, right? Let's keep listening.
And I knew I wasn't a housewife. I was like, I would not be happy as just somebody's wife and having their kids. Like, there's just so much inside of me. And I decided I'm going to pursue this career that has no guarantee. Like, literally, radio is probably one of the most unreliable careers you can bet on.
Yeah,
but it was like, I had to bet on me. And for a long time, I remember I used to think like, I used to be like, I chose my career over love. And the truth of the matter is, I
Yeah.
didn't choose my career over love. I chose who I am. Like, this is who I am, whether I was making $1 off it or not. This is who Kendra is.
So
And
why you say it had to be a choice though? So
Because-
what changed? What
Well,
made it not work?
So what happened? Okay, I'm in radio. I ended up getting a job in Philly.
All right, you had
so
to relocate.
So I got fired from this job in Chicago. So now I had to relocate to Philly. And we were already kind of rocky because we were discovering, like, at that time he was ready to like have children and get married, like, because he didn't want to be an old father, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'm not having your child until we get married. And so we were learning, like, okay, we don't really have the same alignment for life goals. And I knew if I took the job in Philly, it was a wrap. There was no way we were going to be able to survive another long distance relationship. And that's what happened. And I moved to Philly and our relationship did not survive.
So you chose your career over your potential marriage, what could have been your husband. That's the simple explanation to this. You see, I understand reframing the past to maybe soften the blow of reality, you know, because you don't want the dark roast, right? You want a little bit of decaf. And so you want to reframe it. I'm just being who I am. No, I think chicks do this all the time. And when I say women do this all the time, I mean like, you know, what we've seen plenty of times, the chicks who brag about their degrees, who brag about their career accomplishments, so on and so forth, and they do not have a ring on their finger. And their whole thing is, well, I'm not going to sacrifice who I am, but the truth is you can't have it all. And I can already tell here that I'm going to have my disagreements with both of them, of course, you know, different perspectives, and yours is always welcome. Let's keep listening.
How long y'all together from the day that y'all committed?
We were in college. So we started in college. And then I want to say we met probably like my sophomore year in college. You know, you have, it's one of those, you together, then you're not together.
Yeah.
Then after, our engagement was like 3 years. Once we got engaged, it was like a 3-year process. So by this time, we really are just, because the thing is, he wasn't a bad guy and there wasn't like infidelity. It's different when you learn that, oh, I really love you, but we're just not on the same life plan.
Yes.
It's easy to leave a person if they cheat on you,
Yep.
if they're disrespectful. But when the love is real, but the life assignment isn't aligned, that's harder.
Isn't it interesting that there's always that situation, right? They find this guy, this is how it starts, ready to propose, madly in love with Melissa Ford. She gave the same exact story before becoming a video vixen and now turning into a raging feminist. She also had a situation where a man who was good, no cheating, nothing bad at all, who in their words is usually a good guy, nothing terrible about him, but they just want to explore more, right? And go out there into the streets.
So, but I had to go for what I know, right? And I took the job in Philly and then that dissolved. And I remember I was really, really sad. But he ended up moving on. But I share this story because some would say this is like 20 years ago. And it's like, okay, 20 years later, you're still not married. You're still not a wife. Would you make that same like bet? Would you make the same decision?
And I'll say you would.
Absolutely, I would. I would have made it a day earlier because I had to choose me. Like, I am not going to suppress who I am just to be somebody's wife. Like, you asked me outside, you said, am I somebody's wife? I said, I don't know. And I'm okay with that. Like, if I don't get married, it will not.
No, tell them how that conversation came up.
Because he writing letters to ghosts. Because seriously writing letters to ghost child. Now, I thought we stopped having imaginary friends when we was in kindergarten, but now Latyrus, he said, I'm about to write the letter to my invisible wife. I said, your wife.
I did not say
okay,
invisible.
he said to his wife, I said, the invisible woman you ain't never. You know, personally, I don't think Latyrus want to be nobody's husband, but, you know, I think we might get to that part in the podcast. And I said, you writing letters to everybody know this woman but you.
So I didn't know this, guys. Apparently the main host here, Latyrus, of the Dear Future Wifey podcast isn't married. I didn't know that. So here we have two unmarried people who are sort of discussing why they're not married. And also, you know, they have a platform where they help other people out. You guys know where I stand with that. I don't think only married people give great relationship advice. And I think single people can give pretty good advice as well. My disagreement is when you have people with different goals. So, for example, if you're somebody on there who has no intentions of getting married, giving advice to a bunch of people who are looking for marriage, that can be confusing. That seems to be the case when it comes to Kendra G, and could explain why she kind of is all over the place, right? Because in her own life, she's not even sure if marriage is something that she truly wants, and being okay with like, hey, I'm willing to be by myself and choose me, probably reflects in a lot of the confusion when she makes her points. But the main host here writes letters to his future wife. I think that ties into the name, Dear Future Wifey. I don't know per se. This is me just piecing things together. Sounds like some notebook stuff to me. Nothing wrong with it. I used to be a real hopeless romantic in the past, and in a sense, I maybe see where it's come from. I'm curious to know what you guys think, right? Comment down below. Oh, and I believe he's been married before and has been divorced.
You done sat here, you've been around this world, around all these sensational women. He ain't trying to be nobody's husband, child. But,
I told her
that's my own theory.
I said she is not imaginary. She's a real person.
Yeah, everybody know but you. How everybody know your wife but you?
Because if we meet each other and it aligns and we say I do, then she became my wife. So she wouldn't be imaginary no more, would she?
Okay, this is your interview, so I'm going to respect that.
Talk.
Okay, but I have a question for you.
We can have a conversation.
What are you looking for? Because like most people don't have the opportunity that you have. You have the opportunity to associate with so many women, right? Which I really feel like is your disadvantage, because we're having so many choices. It's like you're trying to make this perfect person. It's like, ooh, I like her. She speaks well. Ooh, but I like her because she fine. Ooh, I like her. Her hair real. Ooh, I like her. She go to church the most. So you got like 5 different pieces of a woman, and you're trying to make it that one. So it's like, to me, I think your challenge is, focusing on one woman only and rocking out life with her when you have so many options. And I feel like that's the disadvantage. That's your challenge.
So my challenge is this. My challenge is, well, thank you for your assessment. I appreciate it. I appreciate it, Kendra G. I'm not a person that gets caught up on quantity. And so it's because like I go to these events, host these events everywhere. I go to my hotel and by myself. I don't get caught up on quantity. Matter of fact, I look for quality. I literally look back and say, God, these letters that I've written is literally a blueprint to what I desire. So when I meet a woman, it don't take a long time for me to assess and discern if that's my wife or not. I liken it to an episode I did one day, and I was interviewing this lady named Siobhan and her husband Cheyenne. Mm-hmm. And while she was talking, tears started streaming down my face. And this was about a couple of years ago, because God revealed to me the sound of a wife. This is this other man's wife sitting right there, and they're talking, but I started crying. She said, why are you crying? I said, I can't compromise having a woman of God. And then she said, you don't have to. What's wrong? Because in my mind, in that season, I said, maybe what I desire, I'm looking for too much. And too much was it was basic. It was just literally, I want a woman that has the heart posture of God. A woman that when I'm in my moments of weariness, when I'm in these moments where I'm trying to figure out the next move, that she'll be able to put her hand on my shoulder and say, baby, you got this, and begin to pray for me. I want a woman that is aligned with me in purpose, where the decision shouldn't have to be made with, do I choose love or do I choose my purpose? Right. Because that's what you had to choose. If it's the person that God, and that's what I don't like, is that sometimes it becomes a question of, do I choose my lover / husband, wife, or do I choose my dreams? If it's your husband or spouse, you can do them both. It's like, it's no such thing as I have to choose this or this. And
okay, so I'm going to jump in here, and I'm going to jump in a few times. So apologies ahead of time. So Kendra G was like, hey, here you are. You've got this great podcast. You interview all these different women. I've seen a lot of people in this podcast, a lot of people who are well known within the dating and relationship space. And I think he brought both Derek Jackson on his podcast and also Derek Jackson's ex-wife. And I only say that to it brings me back to the first time I've actually heard of dear future wifey, right? And so she says, you have all these different women. I think your problem is your vast options and actually finding one. And he says, you know what? Actually, because he disagrees. And he says, the problem with me isn't necessarily quantity. It's finding the woman who upholds the same values I do. And so he's looking for a specific type of woman, which makes sense. And I can agree with that, right? And it really depends on the values that you share. The more conscientious you are and the more you know your own self, the more you know and understand what you want. A lot of you guys who watch the Coffee Pod, you're not going to go out into the world and think, look at all these options of women that I can marry. It sounds funny, right? Because you understand that in order for somebody to qualify as a wife for you, and I always say this, is they have to define marriage the same way that you do. A lot of people don't really have the same definitions for marriage. What is that? Meaning that if your definition of a husband is the head of the household and a wife takes on that helpmate role, then you have to find a woman who upholds those values, is also respectful, and is also willing to let you lead, right? While you make sure that you give her the things that she values. It's a two-way thing. And of course, on top of that, he's adding a spiritual element. And as somebody who does identify as Christian, once you really look at what it takes for you to find a peaceful woman, not these chicks who we see over and over again all around us. Once you really look at, wow, in order for me to find someone who's actually a quality woman, once you really write those things down, you realize that there's really not that many options. On top of that, you have attraction and so on and so forth, right? Now, again, this comes down to what your goals are. If your goal is marriage. Now, if your goal is to go out here and just like bust cheeks and just to sleep around and just date, then your option's almost 100x, right? Because you don't have to deal with getting along with that person over a long period of time. I don't think that's the same thing that modern women today struggle with. I think modern women today struggle with the idea that when they meet a man and the men who they're attracted to, in many cases, they realize that the men who they're naturally attracted to, the men who they want, are not going to choose them unless if they do what? Unless if they take on that helpmate role and let go of their extremely delusional expectations and standards. And thus, you have the Kendra G situations. When it comes to a marriage, you're going to have to compromise your goals and your dreams to a small degree. And as a woman, if you want a family and want to make sure that you have those kids before you're too old, then you have to fall in line with the type of man that meets you at the right time. And you have to compromise on putting your career first. You can't have it all. And that's the part that I think I would disagree with what it sounds like Laterris here, from what I know, he may change going forward, is saying is like, oh, why can't you have them both? I just don't think it works that way, especially for women. And this has to do with because of who women are, because they have a short window to be extremely fertile and what men find attractive about women. You can't wait till you're almost 50 years old to now say, okay, it's time for me to look for my husband. You can, but good luck.
That's what I believe is the disconnect, is that it's set up as a choice. And so I'm looking for that, because yes, in certain situations you can date somebody and they may be not aligned because you may live in one area and they live in another area and neither one of y'all are willing to move or whatever. Well, unless y'all gonna have a long distance marriage, right, that's not gonna work. But as two mature adults, you have to be able to say, you know what, this ain't gonna work before it gets 5 years in, before it gets to an engagement. Those conversations should be had early on in the assessment, in the interview phase. Before you get a job, they take you through an interview. Whether you lie and say that you believe in building with this company and retiring from that company, you know you lying when you're saying that. Or if you're saying, no, I really want to work here for 1 year because I'm going to quit and go be an entrepreneur after that year. Well, you lied at the interview, but you told them what they want to hear. When you're dating somebody, all I'm looking for is for people to show up as their authentic self so I can assess whether or not this is a person for me and this is a person I can build legacy with. And so sometimes, yeah, what you're saying is that, yes, a whole lot of selection. Absolutely. Sometimes that is overwhelming. But the reality is that my heart is fashioned in hearing what God wants me to hear in the sound of this woman. And that ain't gonna take me long. That's why I started being even more intentional verbally of saying, I will be married by the end of this year. And if I'm not married by the end of this year, there will be a ring on some woman's finger by the end of this year that she will be my wife in 2026, period. Because that's what I mean. Sometimes people look at it as, oh, you have all these options, and I can flip it back on you. Couldn't you get married if you want to?
Uh-oh. Flip it back on Kendra G. Couldn't you get married if you want to? Now, just remember here, we're talking about men who Kendra wants versus men who want Kendra G, right? Let's keep listening.
Absolutely. But I was listening to you. This is good because this is why when you asked me, I was talking about I don't know, because I take marriage so seriously. It's not a game. And I feel like a lot of women, if you understood what you are giving and offering as a wife, when a guy shows you he don't deserve that, you wouldn't cry. Because to me, there's nothing higher than an honor than saying, I'm going to be your wife. Because what I'm saying is everything is second to you.
Facts.
Everything is second to you. You have to earn that.
Absolutely.
What happens is women show up for men as wives and they not even your boyfriend.
Absolutely.
He's not even reliable. And you got to stop giving out these wifely benefits to men, because this is why men don't want to become husbands, because they get husband treatments without even being your boyfriend.
That part.
But the truth of a wife to me is the highest honor. I'm going to stand by your side through sickness and health. When you're wrong, I'm not going to shame you in front of the world. I'm going to suppress myself if it means to ignite you to exalt you. I'm going to move and fashion my whole entire life around you, because I do believe that's what a wife should do. But I feel as though a man has to earn that. And what's happening is, going back to the Cinderella story, every man doesn't deserve a wife. And every man and every woman doesn't necessarily deserve a husband, because, again, are you willing to make that sacrifice for that man? Are you willing to say, I'm going to put this job aside because this doesn't work for my husband?
So this is where the confusion begins, right? She just said right there, she believes that a woman should, and we're just going to make sure here, right? We can even go back. I believe I heard her say that she believes that a woman's desires when it comes to her goals should come second to her husband, as in, hey, I'm not going to choose my career over my husband. And then she goes and says, I take marriage very seriously, right? I take marriage very seriously. People who take marriage very seriously are married.
Drink the coffee, it'll make you feel better.
People who take marriage very seriously wouldn't say, if I ended up not marrying in this lifetime, then, I'd be okay. Understand too, guys, that I don't think that marriage is the highest pinnacle of accomplishment in life. No, I don't think people who don't get married don't have value to bring to the world. I don't think marriage is for everybody. But we are having a conversation here about marriage. And Kendra G, just says that she takes it very seriously. Well, obviously she doesn't take it that seriously, because from the beginning she chose a career path over her husband and doesn't regret it. I mean, are we talking about taking marriage seriously here as something that you truly want? Or what are we talking about exactly? You guys follow me? Let's keep listening.
I have so many friends that are married. and some have been married for years. And I have watched the valleys. Like there's moments when the husband was doing better, but then he lost his job. So then my friend had to step up and had to do like I don't want, again, I have to be conscious of other people's personal business, but I saw her had to step up in ways to hold down the family because that's what the dynamic required.
Absolutely.
Because their family trumps everything. And I think if we go back to that foundation, you will realize there's not a lot of people that really qualify to be your husband or your wife. Dating, you can date forever. Like there's that supply is limitless, to be quite honest. But your husband, a wife, I don't really feel as though there's a lot of options. I do think finances have changed this a lot though, because
So she says that, and this is where I'm trying to follow her, but I'm getting lost here a little bit. She says when it comes to husband and wife, now she agrees with him and says, okay, there are not a lot of options. But earlier she said that his biggest challenge is a buffet of women, right? And I believe, honestly, this is why, guys, it's very important. And people don't do this. People don't do this about themselves. A lot of people are just kind of like, if it happens, it happens. About a lot of things, not just marriage, whether it's a goal you have in life, whether it's you actually accomplishing, maybe losing weight, I don't know, summer's around the corner, or it could be marriage. And you being in this kind of, if it happens, it happens, if it, I'm not really pushing for it, you end up not being very clear about what it is that you want, understanding the challenges that stand between you and actually accomplishing that one thing. And when you talk about it, you kind of sound all over the place. This is why I say that if you're taking advice from people, it's okay to get advice, right? But for people who are, taking advice that they want to apply to their life, I mean, like really apply to their life, you have to make sure the people you're listening to also reflect the same type of goals that you want in your future. This is why I like platforms like the Tonight's Conversation, where you have 10 panel members, 2 are married, one's just there having fun, the other one's a crash out on TikTok, the other one's smashing audience members. Entertaining, but it should be taken mostly as that and not really as applicable advice. Just keep listening.
See, a man, he'll date a girl who's a waitress at Applebee's or the corporate lawyer, right? Because it's like, we just going on a date. They make it kind of simple. Women, if you're not the corporate lawyer, I don't even want to go on the date with you.
Yep.
And that guy who is attractive, has money, now he's connected via social media. I always say, like, back in the day, there was this, Waterbury, I live in Waterbury, Connecticut. There was this guy called Michael Chapman, and he was like the finest guy in high school, and all the girls wanted him. So imagine this now with social media.
Mm-hmm.
Like now it's the finest man in the whole world is at his oasis. So I just feel like
a click away.
Yeah, it's almost, and I'm gonna get a lot of flack, but I do without the intimacy, women, you got to start dating like men to a certain degree. Just go on a coffee date.
No, I say that. So you're aligned with what I talk about in my podcast. I say, and some people, women be like, I can't do that. I say, get used to dating multiple men. I said date multiple men. I didn't say sleep with multiple men, but would you ever just go put your application or your resume in at one job? You're going to put it in with a whole lot of, sometimes you can get a headhunter that they go put your stuff out with a whole lot of people and they say, hey, now you got interviews. And you sit down and you're talking to different people and different companies and saying, oh, I like this. What's the benefits package? Oh, I like this. I like that. I don't see any areas of growth in this company. And then you don't accept the job offer. Then you go to the next one and you have all these options that you go through, and then you go, I see myself working here. I see that this is most aligned with my career goals and all that. It's the same thing with dating. Date multiple people, sit down, like you said, coffee dates, break bread with somebody and interview with them.
Hey, I like the sound of that. Coffee dates, let's go.
And what I found is that you'll learn so much about yourself. You'll be able to discern what you really want. You're like, well, I thought I always wanted a guy that was the lawyer, but he don't have no time for me.
Yes.
He don't even return my calls. He don't do nothing. And I really thought that I was going to be married to this doctor, but he don't this. He's always that. He's always, you know what? This other guy, never thought I'd give this type of guy a chance. But this is a guy that sees me, he talks to me, he's investing in me, he's intentional with me. And after dating all these people, you'll realize that what you thought, you have this cognitive dissonance that's been operating in your mind where you say you want this, but you're actually acting out in this fashion. Then you'll be able to discern, this is what I really want. This is most aligned with me. And then you'll have a healthy, thriving marriage.
Here's how that will really play out. This is how it really goes. Chicks go out, because I actually agree. I'm like, hey, date multiple people. And yes, you can do that. Even a woman can do that without necessarily sleeping with all those men. Now, coffee dates are great, right? Because they're quick and to the point. But the problem is this. At the current state of modern women today who think that they qualify for wives, that type of dating, before they fix their delusional standards, will just equal more bodies. Why? Because a lot of these chicks will get strung along on these dates with dudes who will, just to keep it real, will feed them sweet nothings and lies. And they'll believe those lies, right? They'll believe those lies. And good luck. This is not about tell those men to be honest. You're believing lies, right? And it's the 10th time you've been lied to. These are the chicks, when you ask them like, okay, so why aren't you married? Why don't you have a husband yet? They'll say, well, I date high caliber men. I know these men, and I am praying and hoping that one day one of these men will settle down with me. When the truth is, they are stringing you along, and you need to make sure you're placing yourself correctly in the sexual dating market. Because if you go in there delusional, you're just going to get scammed. You're just going to get scammed. You know, it's like that person who keeps falling for multi-level marketing businesses. Eventually, you got to be like, Forex? That doesn't sound right. Eventually, you start to catch on when someone says, do you want to be your own boss? You think to yourself, oh, that's Primerica. That's how that sounds like. I got sucked into something like this, whether it was Kirby. Eventually, you have to realize that, hey, no, you can't be a millionaire in less than 3 months. You have to catch on. You have to stop falling for it. But people who think too highly of themselves and don't have healthy amounts of espresso in their life, they'll keep bumping their head into the wall over and over again. Let's keep listening.
But now, based on what you said a minute ago, you just said that based on all these options I have, that I should be married because of the fact that I'm not married, not taking into account, I have been married before. So I've been married before. I was married for almost 10 years. I've been divorced going on 10 years. And so based on the options that you said that you think I should be married, and even went as far as to say I don't really want to be married, because if I did, I would be married by now.
Okay.
You want to retract that statement, Kendra G?
I don't want to retract the statement because I still feel, this is what I stand on with that. And I stand on what I said before. You have so many options. I almost think you're looking for the perfect woman.
And why do you say that?
Because you've been around there's certain people who don't have what you have. You have the gift of being around so many variety of women. And I guess for me, observing, I'm like, all these sensational women, none of them was good enough to be your wife.
Why is it not good enough?
What do you mean, why is it not good enough?
Why is that the phrase?
Because I feel like, for you, to me, this is what we talk, because we talk outside. And I want to also, I'm going to answer this, and then something else you said I want to talk about, so we're going to have to go back. Marriage is important to you. Marriage is important to you. To me, if God forbid, if this was our last day on earth and you didn't get remarried, that would be like one of your regrets. Like, I should have did that. So because it's so important to you, I would think you do have a podcast behind it, but I would think that by this time you would have found a woman that has most of the qualities, because I don't think she might not have 100%.
What about you? What about you? What about the woman who says she takes marriage seriously and has a whole podcast on dating for marriage and a dating app?
No, I'll have a tea actually.
She might have 70%, but the 70% is more important because there's so many women that want to marry you, Latiris. Like there's so many women who like they like, girl, like if I brought you on my show, Latiris ain't been on my show, but if I know for certain if you came on my show, 8,000, I'm not even exaggerating. You would get 8,000 women from around the world that are like, I want to be your wife. Now they might not all fit what you want, but I think, is anybody perfect? Like,
and that's the thing about it. I'm not looking for perfection.
Okay, before I answer that, you haven't met a woman that has at least 70% of the qualities that matter most to you that could be your wife.
I always say I thought I did. So you have to think, I did a whole episode in 2022 that you may not be aware of. Well,
this
2023
is
called Healing from Heartbreak. I thought I was going to marry this woman after us knowing each other for 3 months. And I said, it was so intentional, all this alignment, all this stuff. And I was like, cool. I had planned, we had talked about, end up getting married in 2023. And I was like, this is what it is.
Well, I thought that was crazy.
Well, see, look, hold on. No, hold on. I want to hear it now. I want to hear how you double talk what you just said.
Let's not double talk.
No, listen, hold on.
Go ahead.
This is what you just said. You ain't found nobody that you want to marry. Now you found this other person. That's crazy that you was going to marry this woman after knowing her for 3 months.
Because 3 months to me, you haven't been through enough life experience to make that commitment.
Kendra just got all the answers, doesn't she? You know what's funny? If you really think about it, she just went through the exact same thing. Didn't she just get over a failed engagement? Like, this is insane, bro. You guys see, like, the disconnect?
But the commitment wasn't done yet. This is what I'm saying. So this is the process. You can meet somebody with intentionality to say, I plan to marry him.
Okay.
Clearly, she didn't have a ring on her finger.
Okay.
Clearly, we didn't get engaged.
Okay.
Clearly, but we were in pre-engagement counseling. So we were in pre-engagement counseling because I said there's some things that we need to uncover, and there's some things that I see attached to your past family that we need to look at. And so we started doing that, and that's when everything started unraveling. She was like, I got to go get healed.
Well, I want to go back. Okay, so that's one woman, but what has been your challenge? So what is the challenge that you are having when seeking a wife? Like what are women lacking? Because this could be an enlightening moment for women who are watching, because I have so many women that want to be married. So what do you find that you cannot find, which is this wow factor that is important to you to be somebody's husband?
See, I don't think it's based on a woman's deficit. It's not based on, because I meet a lot of amazing women, so I can't say that if they were this, we would have got married. It's not that. It's the fact that as time would tell, we didn't make it to marriage.
I think he's pandering there. And this is just me being honest reaction. I think he's pandering. I think that I think it's interesting too that Kendra's kind of setting the question up like, you know, all these other women are struggling. Maybe we can help all these other women out. But for him to say that there's something that these chicks don't lack, when we know the current state of the dating market. Listen, guys, I understand that, you know, there are a bunch of men out here too who weren't really raised up to step up to the plate and stand in their masculine. But we understand all this is a result of a society that has devalued men and also has uplifted a huge, very strong feminist agenda. Now, that's probably not going to be said on other platforms, but that's what I believe. Right? Let's keep listening.
And that's why I mean by healthy dating experiences, where you date somebody and y'all are very clear, I'm seeking God over it, and it just doesn't work out, you know. And so in those situations, I don't look at. I changed my perspective when it comes to love. I look at love as an opportunity for people to experience who we are in our healthy self or our toxic self, and then we get a chance to recalibrate and say, oh gosh, I need to heal from this. This person here year, I bled on most of the relationship, and they had to deal with the last 3 women I dealt with, or dealt with somebody I forgot all about 6 years ago that I wasn't healed about or healed from. And so as you go on this journey of love, I believe that we give people the opportunity to experience us and we experience them. And if it works out to engagement and if it works out to marriage, because think about it, it's stages. It goes from we dating each other. My whole thing is I believe in going from friend to fiance. So that means that what I want to cultivate at the foundation is friendship. Can I talk to you? Do I enjoy you? Can I turn the TV off and we can enjoy each other just having great conversation? I talk about my life, quote unquote, ending with my beautiful wife sitting on a porch and rocking chairs, sipping lemonade and just talking. I say that a lot on my podcast because I say it has to go down to the foundation of just sitting there talking.
So,
is this somebody I can talk to?
Right, but
hold on, let me go to the stages.
Okay.
So then we go from the date to the friendship stage, and then we go to engagement.
Just ready to cut him off.
Prior to engagement, I said we're going to go through pre-engagement counseling so we can excavate whatever childhood trauma, whatever issues we have, to bring it to the forefront. Then if all that checks out, boom, let me put a ring on your finger. The engagement is a process. It's still a process of this is what we are committed to until we get married. Well, you know, a lot of people, including yourself, have failed engagements. You're engaged in some.
Shots fired. A lot of people like you have failed engagements. That wasn't very nice. Wow. Look at Kendra G. No, but let's be honest. He was pressing her, right? He's been pressing her the whole interview so far. And he just said this one thing, but I think he's going to pay for it. I don't know.
Somebody and it doesn't make it to the wedding. Even if it makes it to the wedding, the altar, y'all still not married. They ask the question, Kendra G, do you accept so-and-so to be your, sir, do you accept so-and-so?
If we got this, all the money we done spent for that wedding, I'm saying yes. Now, we done made it that far. But
let me think about how many people don't, though.
Right.
How many people be stood up at the altar, they don't even come. So I'm saying all of this is.
See, there's another shot there in the low. You know, think how many people don't, like you, who don't make it to. There's another shot. She just had to take that. She just had to drink that
Drink
coffee.
the coffee, it'll make you feel better.
The process. What I just want to illustrate is that everything is a process. And so sometimes when you.
What I'm trying to illustrate is that you're single, you've been single, and you're still single. Praise the Lord. No, I'm just kidding. Let's keep listening. I'm having too much fun.
When people look at other people and they go, you should have been married. And then I put it back on them and you should have too. But you can identify with your own process and be like, well, no, because the reason why I didn't is because I was going to marry this person, but this right here happened and I chose this or whatever. But you should have been married.
But I could tell you why I'm not married, right?
Exactly, and I can too.
Right. But I think the difference with that.
Come on, man. You guys see it, right? He had enough. He had enough. She made him do it.
Us is it's not as important to me as it is to you. But there's so many subjects.
But the fact that it's so important, like you just said, you understand, this is what you said that you didn't hear you say that was so profound. You understand the gravity of marriage.
But here's the deal.
And I do too.
I feel like this goes back to the buffet.
If you're wondering how your relationship with Kendra G type chick would go, it'll be just exactly like this. You know, here you are making a point, and in the middle of it, she's yelling. Right, she's yelling.
Oh, and a person that's been divorced before.
Right. But I feel like you have to, that's why I said, have you met a woman that has 70%? Because at some point in time, it becomes a choice for you to focus on this woman. A lot of times we're dealing with so much people, like, you know, you might not be focused to get your wife because you probably have different women in your life that is playing a role.
But Kendra, did you hear what I just said? I don't have that problem.
She doesn't listen, bro. This is the moment where he started questioning why he brought his friend Kendra G to come and try to make him look bad.
So that's what I'm saying. To most people,
you don't have what problem?
The problem where I have a problem selecting. That's not my problem. I just told you somebody I met in 3 months I was going to marry. I don't have a problem with that.
So, okay, let's just talk about reality. So right now, because we're here, and I'm definitely going back. I want to definitely speak upon when you said women should date a lot of people. I don't know. I want to be respectful because I don't want to know I don't know what you talk about on your podcast all the time, but are you seriously dating in this moment? Do you answer that or not?
Yes, I date.
Okay.
Yes. I say
So
all the time.
are you dating seriously? Are there any women you're dating right now that you feel like, okay, this woman can make it to the love of Lateris by the end of this year to get that ring that you have already? Are there women that you are dating that you feel are strong contenders?
I would say, I don't like the way you just flipped this interview on me, Kendra G.
Well, listen, I wasn't trying to, but you want to talk.
Did. Oh, yeah, we'll talk. We'll talk.
Okay.
I would say I don't think of it that deep. I go because I don't want to have. I don't make a relationship fantastical where I'm fantasizing over it. I literally relegate it and say, are we conducive friends? So in the stage I'm at right now, yes, I am dating people or getting to know. I was just say getting to know people. And when the day this interview is airing, which is we recording this March the 4th. March the 4th. Don't know when this episode is gonna be released. March the 4th. I am getting to know people that I don't know what the end result is.
Okay. So I say
So he's dating, right? That's what I took from it. He's dating.
That to say, I think that's amazing, and men have that freedom, right? Sometimes women aren't given that freedom. I want to talk about that, but I don't want to lose this in transit because I've been meaning to say this. I love that you said earlier that women should date, right? And I said this on the Tamara Hall show, and I said I had a roster child. They was like, "What?" No, what it simply meant is like I'm not in a relationship. There's men that I date, and that's true for me. I feel like there's nothing wrong with that. Like women, you have to date. Because what happens is if you are single and you date one guy, you start treating him like your boyfriend and your husband. And he's neither. Right. So now you're obsessing and now you have decided to take yourself off the market. No, if a man really values you, he's going to take you off the market. He's going to take you off the market because he doesn't want anybody else to have you. And if he does not make that decision, you are a single woman. You should go out there and decide and date and learn. Like, oh, like you said earlier. And I love that you said that because me as a woman saying that, I got so much pushback from men. That's terrible advice. No, because what you want her to do, be sulking and crying over you in the house, twiddling her thumbs, watching your Instagram page, seeing what you're doing. No, girlfriend, be amazing and be outside. And maybe it's a guy that you're just having coffee with. Like men do date right. Like they just date. Women start being like that. Like if the guy if he's an Uber driver and he's like, yo, you got time later. And if he's attractive enough, just go. It's just roller skating, girl. You're just going bowling.
Absolutely.
Like, it doesn't mean you're going to go down the altar, but what it does is it gets you out of your house. It gets you not soaking over a guy that's not thinking about you. I always tell people I have no men problems unless having too many options is one. I'm just keeping it real with you. I only deal with the men that like me. If you don't like me, I don't like you, case closed. There's no issue.
That part.
Like, there's no issue. Like,
simple.
Like, people nowadays are chasing people who don't want you. And honestly, this prize is the man the prize, the woman the prize. Whoever's being chased is the prize. So, girlfriend, if you're chasing him, he's the prize. If you're chasing her, she's the prize. But ultimately, you want a match where y'all both feel like we're both the prize. And if I lost you, this would be horrible. So I'm going to do my best to show up.
That's it. If you're still here, shout out to you. Let's check out a few of these comments, see what people have to say. Top comment, he says, a conversation between two strong-minded individuals. It is okay to agree to disagree. Somebody else who says, I really enjoyed listening to this conversation. It's evident that Lateris is standing firmly on biblical principles, while Kendra is responding from a more worldly perspective. They're clearly viewing things from two different lenses, which is why the message is being received so differently. Nevertheless, I wish them both well and pray they continue to grow in wisdom, understanding, and purpose. I think that's a pretty fair point. I do think that, like I said, if your goal is unclear, then where you stand on points is going to be very unclear. Because what I got from Kendra G when it comes to marriage is she's like, maybe if it happens, cool. But overall, I wouldn't be heartbroken if I never got married, right? And so to me, it seems like she's just kind of going with the wind. Somebody else here says, I normally do not comment on podcasts. However, on this episode, I have to say he handled himself very well. He stuck to what God has been speaking through him. But what do you expect from a woman that confused about marriage and a man who knows what he wants? Oh, yeah. Okay, so here we go. This is kind of along the lines of what I was talking about. She was talking in circles when she was getting caught up, when he challenged her. I'm so proud of you, King. And somebody else who says, she said God gave her a cussing spirit. That didn't come from God. I think that comes in later. We didn't get to that. Somebody else who says, I like the way you composed yourself during this interview. Lateris, you remained a gentleman with your responses and you listened actively. Somebody else who says, when I changed how I was, I changed what I attracted, period. That's not to say that goofies didn't try, but the right men were also attracted. And that's why I'm able to say that I've been married for 23 years. To God be the glory. Amen, amen, amen. All right, guys, believe it or not, we actually have one more topic here we're going to check out real quick. It's a shorter one. Moving on.
Grown woman right there. She ain't finna settle. She gonna get what she want, or she ain't want it.
Well, I guess he just read me, right? He just cooked for me. Let me ask you a quick question as a man. I love that you said that. With a woman like me, with all of you said intimidation, she's not gonna settle. Mm-hmm. What would you advise a man to do who wants me but feels all those things you said?
He gotta come get you because a real man gonna come.
Well, hold on. Where's my key word? Put the camera on. Tell him loud. Tell him to hug me, Dion. Hold on.
Come.
Dion said, Dion said, come get your girl. Come get me. I'm waiting to be hunted. I am.
You gotta understand. And
So, guys, the caption of this video says, ladies, let's talk. A real man isn't intimidated. He's intentional. When you know your worth, you don't chase. You position yourself to be chosen. Fellas, if you feel like she's too much, that's your sign to step up, not step back. A woman who knows what she wants won't entertain back and forth games. She's waiting to be hunted, not convinced. Dr. Cheyenne Bryant in this caption here goes on to say, and let's be clear, comply doesn't mean weak. It means a woman who is ready to fully submit to the right man because she recognizes his leadership. With the 100 emoji, she's not guarding her heart with the condom. She's all in when she finds the right one. Now you may be wondering, what the hell was that? Right? The condom statement. But earlier, Dion pretty much said that he's guarding his heart with the condom. And then she went into this huge spill. I saw a short of it of, men guard their hearts, but they don't guard their joystick. And they're out here creating broken homes and diseases, STDs, so on and so forth. Right? Fair point. But I want you guys to imagine modern women are the only prey. And, if we're going to use hunted as a figure of speech to represent what goes on in the mating dance, men do hunt women. Women want that, right? They want men to hunt women. But modern women are the only species, the only prey, right, that are begging to be hunted. If you watch the Animal Channel, have you ever seen them ever narrate a story where the antelope is begging for the lion to eat him? This does not sound right. It's nice with the music playing in the background. And of course, there's a bit of pandering here going on, I believe. But it's not the natural state of how things should be. If a man isn't trying to hunt you, then you are unfortunately not what men who want wives are looking for. That's the coffee, right? In that
Drink the coffee, it'll make you feel better.
But, let's read a few of these comments, see what people have to say. We have a commenter here who says, if she haven't gotten what she wants by now, what makes you think she will? This is some first-class pandering. Shout out to my guy right here. He also sends me a lot of really good content. And I think that's why his comment popped up at the top. If you also would like to join the inner circle of content sourcing, people who just shoot me content, hit me up on IG. Somebody else who says, I like her points sometimes, but I see some in her that keeps her single. It speaks massive volumes in the most silent way. Let's see what people had to say in response to that. This person says, something yells, I want to be heard, which we all do, but the need to be heard when already heard will have a man turning out. Somebody else who says, and it didn't help that Dion was sitting there gassing her already inflated ego up. And she responded back. So this is a woman here. This is a woman who's actually like, there's something about this chick that just like, I could see why men are like, let me go the other way. She says, overinflated and narcissistic, actually like heavy narcissistic traits. I mean, most people have some form of narcissistic behavior. It's human, but her meter is in the toxic category. So people here underneath her post kind of having a conversation being like, we can kind of see why you're still single. Another chick here says, I see it too. She is smart, beautiful, intelligent, accomplished woman. This is another woman, right? But she talks too much. Get the message, then respond. Another person who says, me too. These are women here, right? Another person who says, you must have forgotten that she's a psychologist and a large part of her job is to speak. Her platform has expanded to blogs and podcasts, interfered in her personal preference. This truly isn't just about what she just wants. She is also speaking up for the many women who share the same understanding. Also, how the family dynamic prospers when there is no confusion. Okay. What else do we have here? Somebody else who says, her and Dion talking to each other about each other. This dude here says, he's simping. Somebody has, a bunch of guys responded back, facts, yup, hell yeah. Or blowing smoke. Yeah. Somebody else who says, this exchange has thoroughly made my day. This is all we need to listen to. Healthy exchange, loving flow, true understanding on both sides. Yes, this all day. So to them, guys, healthy exchange is you gassing them up and making sure you do anything, but serve it up.
I am like Ruth. I am making myself huntable.
Age and stage, she ain't playing no games.
At all.
Like, so when you come, you ain't got to go back and forth for all this foolishness. She ain't gonna play like that. Like, she know what she want, and if she recognize it, she gonna comply. I don't mean that she just gonna lay down for
No, you said it right. Don't backpedal. Say it again. She gonna comply. No.
But I don't want them thinking comply mean
This makes me think that Travis Hunter never got that prenuptial agreement discussion from Dion here, based on the pandering that we see here to the levels we see it.
you just up,
No,
just
comply means I'm going to fully submit. I'm going to fully comply. And let me go further. I will fully lay down for you. So I'm not a woman at my age who says that, no. My heart don't have a condom on it. So when I find that you I am fully laying down, complying, submitting, and laying down in whatever way you want me to lay down in.
Right. That's a grown woman right there. She ain't finna settle.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't believe it. Imagine an argument with Dr. Cheyenne Bryant or Kendra G. I mean, my goodness. Let's see what else we have here. Did I miss any? Looks like these are all new posts.
Nobody is doomed. But when I say you are who you are, it means a man who has a strong appetite for women, a woman who has a strong appetite to be a gold digger, right? They both marry whoever, each other, someone else. What I say by you are who you are means that man's appetite for women does not go away because he now becomes married on paper or because he's in love or loves this woman. What he's going to have to do is when that appetite inflames, he's going to have the proper tools to regulate and manage that. That's why I say marriage is for disciplined people. Nobody.
Interesting. Looks like she was on Earn Your Leisure right there. I agree with that. Marriage is definitely something that's for disciplined people. I think for me personally, that's when my spirituality steps in. I think men look around, and especially today, with the amount of women the way they carry themselves and how easily it is to step out of relationships and marriage, you got to pray. You got to stay on your knees. And I don't think women realize that just because a man is married And even if he doesn't cheat, and even if he's loyal, that he doesn't recognize the women around him. He sees those women. And some men, they're able to tame that without having to pray. But for most men, you need God. Well, I'll speak for myself. I need Jesus. Top comment here says, a lot of men's first attempts at faithfulness is marriage. And if you can't turn women down or entertain them single, you're not going to magically turn this off because you got married. Discipline takes practice and effort until it becomes second nature. It will never become second nature. For men, guys, you have to understand that I've thought about this conversation many times. If anybody has ever worked with the elderly, told you guys, 10 years, I was, guys used to make fun of me and say, oh, you wipe booty for a living, because I was a caregiver and CNA. I loved the job. I enjoyed it so much. It was an amazing experience. I learned so much. But one thing that always used to shock me was I used to see these guys. I'm talking 90-something years old, late 80s. I've seen some men who are 100 years old. And I'm talking about men who may have dementia, Alzheimer's. I work with all types of people. But you know what? They never forgot that they love women. And the women there will tell you that, and they can tell the difference between a man and a woman, right? Man's there, dementia, and can barely remember his kids. But when he sees a thick woman walk into the room to care for him, maybe it doesn't even have to be thick. All of a sudden, he realizes what's in front of him, and he could tell the difference between her and a man. Now, that's not me saying that. That's an excuse for men to just always deal with cheating. And I believe that chronic cheating within a relationship is definitely a reason for someone to move on. I do believe that. But I do think, people do work it out, and they should try to work it out if it's something that can be overcome. But I'm talking about the battle, of reminding yourself as a man to make sure that you're guarding yourself from potentially falling into that. It's something you have to do. It's something you have to remain vigilant in. You don't get to a point, men don't get to a point where they just don't see women, and I just don't see any beautiful women around me. Oh, they see it. But I believe it's something that as a man, if being faithful is your goal, which I think it should be if you're in a marriage, right, then you have to guard that. And I believe the same for women, because a lot of these chicks, based off their experience on the streets, it's not that easy to turn that side of them off as well. Guys, of course, curious to know what you think. Listen to my soon-to-be married and currently engaged men. Don't forget, you have the ability to get free legal information at fathershaverights.com. With offer code REVIEW, you can access the #1 guide to drafting a solid and legally binding prenuptial agreement. Appreciate you guys. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.